I just want to reiterate a couple things that you went over there before we get started here. My name is Mark. I'm a solution consultant here, and we're going to be going over a few different solutions to improve your reporting strategies here. We're going to focus on 3 modules that we have here. We're going to do Compleo Explorer, which you said, it's a great way to, say burst spool files to Excel or PDF. And then we're going to go over our automation module, which is Supervisor, and it will allow you to automate and schedule those reports. And we're going to actually do an emphasis on Compleo Layout, which is our electronic document editing software. So we're going to actually start on Layout here because that's going to take up the bulk of this webinar here. So I'll pull this up and we can get started here. Okay, so Compleo Layout is a business document form redesign solution used to modernize, enrich, and improve ERP outputs such as PDFs and graphic spool files. Layout is directly accessing existing business documents, forms created by various systems such as SAP, OTF, and SMART. It improves their content and quality by adding elements such as barcodes, images, table text, that type of thing, and the final business document can be distributed securely by mail, fax, email, or web services. So here we have the Compleo Layout module here. As you can see, the different input modes that we have up here is the graphic mode and the text mode. Graphic mode is for modifying a spool which is already formatted. Add objects or small modifications to them. Text mode is for input files which are not yet formatted in order to format from scratch. So if we go ahead and get started here, we can take a look at a basic purchase order that we're going to be working with. As you can see, this one is already very professional, but it could use some enhancements here. So we're going to go ahead and add a QR code for a PO number. It needs a repetitive barcode 128 to identify easily each items on the purchase order. It needs an OMR code for printing. Color, fonts, and borders need to be improved. And then we're going to attach the terms and conditions. And then the vendor's email address is not already in the spool, so we're going to go ahead and show you our query variable option there. And the final goal is to send a digitally signed purchase order in PDF format by email to a vendor. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up a template here. And as you can see, the changes that we've made, I'm going to go to the original view so you can see that. So this was our original purchase order. As I said, very professional, but we went ahead and made the changes that we felt necessary to make it, look very on point and professional here. So you can see this final one. Now let me just go ahead and touch on the module itself here. It's a WYSIWYG concept, so it's it's what you see is what you get. You can see that the format and the layout of it is very similar to that of some Windows products, so it's very easy to use. It's got the a nice interface that's very easy to navigate around and be able to make the changes needed to the purchase orders that you want to do. So let me go back to the original view and we can kind of explain what's going on here. So if you can see these red outlines here, these are the variables. There's 3 different types of variables. You have your metadata, then you have your standard variables. Standard variables would be something like a purchase order number, and then you have query variables, which is information that might not be in the text from an external source. So something like a email address that's not available that you want to send to a vendor that's from somewhere else, you can use that for a query variable to send it out that way, which I'll be showing you as soon as we do a run mode here. So if you can see these different areas here, we actually erased that, so if you go back here, you can see it's cleaned up in the final view. That's an erasing zone. If you wanted to add a logo, you can see that we added the Simtrax logo there. And then right here we added a code which is attached to the variable purchase order number. Okay, and then if we go down here, we added a repeating barcode, as we said that we were going to do. As you can see, it's lined up with the item number, so that barcode that repeats is actually attached to each one of those item numbers. So when we run this final PDF, you'll be able to see that it will be attached to each one of those item numbers. So if we go over to the run modes here, just going to disable this, and we'll go through some of the different run modes. So if we wanted to send the email to the vendor, we would enable it. And you can see up here the different types of modifications that you can do. So this is the run mode where you want to do the process. And you can see down here the process that we're doing is going to be emailing it out to a vendor. So this is our query variable here. And it's a email address that's not in the data that we have here, so that's an external source. That's the email address. And if we go down here, you can see we have the HTML edit option. So if you go through here, you can see all the different edits that you want to send as a, say, like a base email that you want to send out with the attachment to it. Different modifications you can do to it is add a logo. So if you wanted to have a stock logo in there, then you can do that as well. That's an option. I'll just close out of here. You can see the different options, your standard stuff. You can text highlight a color. You can change the style of the font or bold something. And it's just your basic editing tool there. I'm going to be CCing myself on this so you can actually see the final product once we run it. As I said before, we wanted to attach the terms and conditions to this. So if we go up here to where the file is, you can actually add the terms and conditions. And so when we send out this purchase order, the terms and conditions will be attached to it, which we'll see in a second here. And then also in the properties, you can add a digital signature. As you can see here, it's signed with the certificate in a file, and then you have your password. So that's authentic. And okay, now let's go ahead and run this. And I should be getting an email here with the PDF attached to it with our terms and conditions and the digital signature. Okay, and there we have it. So you can see where we had the HTML editor up. It's got that variable attached to the CEB New York. That's who it's to. You can see everything else that we did in there. And then pull up the purchase order in its final condition. You can see the digital signature up here on the left-hand side. You can see the repeating barcode throughout the purchase order. And then if we go to the final page, you can see the terms and conditions were attached. Okay. Now I want to go over a couple different run modes that we've recently added. These are new to 5.5. That is the version that we are on, the release for Compleo. So if I want to sort in the process queues, I would enable that. And the process queues is to sort documents automatically, merge different types of outputs in order to create one final ready-to-use file. A good example would be if you had multiple purchase orders that you wanted to send out as one attachment to a vendor, you'd be able to do that. And how we're going to do that is by using our supervisor tool, which is that automation piece. You'll be able to see that option there. So let me just go ahead and enable this run mode, and I will quickly show you the process that we have here. Let's modify the settings here, and you can see that the value that we're going to be using is based on the city, which I'm going to confirm in the supervisor module. So let me go ahead and open that up and go down to the process queues and when to process the files in the process queues. We'll be able to see when we're going to actually be using them or executing that for that matter. And you can see the different options that we have here. You could do it at a specific time. If you want to do it at 12 o'clock, then you could set it that way. Or how we have it set up today is when the last document comes, recognizable because of document 1 equals the letter value. So what we're going to be using is a Microsoft Word letter to execute it, which is going to be attached to the final purchase order that we sent out. So sort the files by city, so that confirms that there. Click OK. And we're going to be emailing them out. As I did in the last one, I'm going to CC myself so you can see the final document there. Let's close that. Okay. And how we're going to be executing this, as I said, is with Microsoft Word document here. This is going to be attached. This is the purchase order letter. And so how we're going to execute those different purchase orders as one attachment is by printing it with an XPS printer, which we'll get to in a second. So what I'm going to do is send this over to the process queue by running the template. If we go into the processes here, this should show up. There it is. You can see the city, New York there. Document processing is the purchase order. And what we want to do is be able to send out multiple purchase orders at once as one attachment with that PO letter on it as well. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is go back to the navigator, and I'm going to select multiple purchase orders to send. Run the template. Go to our supervisor module. You can see these purchase orders coming in here in the documents processing. So there we go. We have 4 right there. Okay. We're going to be using the XPS printer. So let's take a look at this. You can see the different commands that we have here. So this is our scenario manager. So there's no conditions that we're going to be checking for, but the command is going to be running the layout template, which we just did. So we have those processes in here. We're going to take this Microsoft Word PO letter, and we're going to print it. Now when this prints, it will automatically send out the email as one attachment with all those purchase orders in there. And we have the XPS letter, and when we go ahead and hit print, you can see it should be popping up here in a second. There it is. We got the letter, and I should get an email as soon as these documents process. And there they go. And here is our purchase order. Okay, and you can see that we have all of those purchase orders as one PDF attachment, and then we have our PO letter at the bottom and right there. So that is just another improvement that we've made to the Compleo suite, and that's new to 5.5. And then one more that we're going to go over is going to be saving this back into SAP. So let me go back to that original purchase order that we were working with here. Okay, we're going to use the 2-page one. Go into the template here, and we're going to save a copy into SAP. So I'm going to disable the run mode and enable this run mode. And if we just take a quick look at the process for this one, you can see it's upload to SAP. One thing I didn't touch base on earlier was the different actions that you can carry out for the the run mode. So you can just send it to a PDF. You can archive it, which is a module that we have that works great with layout. You can email it out as we've done, and then upload to SAP, which we're about to do. So I just wanted to quickly show you that. There are many different run mode options there. So what I'm going to do now is double click on this, show you we're going to be setting up our SAP connection. Okay. And if we go into our SAP logon, I'm going to just verify the purchase order number that we're using, which would be 2 pages one, so 45,093. Let's pull this up. Okay, so that's our purchase order number right there. So let's hit enter and go to the attachment list. This is back in SAP, and when I run this layout template here, as soon as that's finished, it should save a copy into SAP. So let's hit the refresh and double click on this. And here we have that template, the purchase order with the digital signature, and it's saved back into SAP. So that is a new feature for 5.5. There's our terms and conditions. So now it is saved. We just saved the copy into SAP. So that is a great new feature that we've added on 5.5 as well. All right, so we might not have time to go through a full template here or building one from scratch, but I do just want to show you how easy it is to just make a couple different changes. And if I can do it, I'm pretty sure anyone else can do it. So I'm going to pull up a basic document. Okay, this one looks good. So let's just make some quick changes to this, and we'll do a run mode that's very basic. Send it into a PDF. So if I go into my template, click on here, and let's change the page setup. We want to do a letter. Fix these margins. So now that looks a lot better there. And let's go to the layout template and add an image. We'll do the Simtrax logo. Okay, so there you go. You have that there. Just add that in. Let's set up a quick variable that we're going to do with a QR code in the corner. So if I add a variable here, all I have to do is outline the pack list number, which I'm going to attach to a QR code here. Okay, let's attach that variable just by clicking there. Now we have the pack list. Do some basic edits with a text zone. And let's fill that in, add a new color to it. Check it out in the final view. Make some basic edits in here. Okay. And then down here it looks like we could use a table. So let's just go over that and add a couple columns. Okay. Okay, so those are just some basic edits that we can do there. If I want to add a run mode, send it to a PDF. It's as simple as that. Maybe I want to attach the terms and conditions to this one as well. It's as simple as just clicking and then running the template. And there we go. It's very basic. I didn't get too fancy with it, but that's as simple as that. So that is our layout module. What I'm going to show you next is Compleo Explorer. Just close out of here. Let's go back into this. Close down Supervisor, and let's get Explorer up. So what I'm going to do in Explorer is just show you some basic ways to use it. One of the most popular ones is to send a spool file to Excel, so that's what we're going to be doing here. If you notice up on the left-hand side, we're multi-platform compatible. We work with the iSeries, and as Kate said previously, we are SAP certified partner, and what we're going to be using is a connector to access a spool file. And we're going to send it here and then make some changes to it and export it to an Excel spreadsheet. So just going to quickly demonstrate how you'd be able to get these spool files in there. So ME to L. And we're going to do by vendors between 30,000 and 3,500. And here we go. So what we're going to do is print that. Okay, and then you have the spool request number. So let me go into Explorer, open up this connection, and go to LP01. There we go, and there is our spool. So what we're going to do now is just open up a template using, well, we're going to use the Compleo Explorer wizard, and then we're going to open up a template. I'm just going to be using this exact same file just to save some time here. So that, as you can see, that's the same one. And let's open up a template. Okay, so let's go over this. You can see the three different variables that we have up here: startup, the query variable, the standard variable, and then we have our template builder in the import structure up here. So if I were to click on this, you could see the different breakouts. We've got the section 1 and section 2. So this is material that this is information that we're not going to be using in our final Excel spreadsheet. And we can kind of just go through here and see what type of variables that we have set up. So you can see the different variables that are attached to this. We've got the order number, vendor name, day, month, year, and date. So those are what we'll be using for our Excel spreadsheet. Then if we open up the run mode, you can see the different options we have for the settings. So there's a wide variety of different things they can do with it. You can send it out via email. You can save it to a local folder, which we're going to be doing. We're going to save it to our orders folder. So what we have here is it's going to close Excel once we run this template, and then it will send it automatically into this orders folder that we have set up. So let's go ahead and run this. And pull up our folder here, and you can see the different Excel spreadsheets that are going to be popping up based on the template that we just built. Now, building these templates it can be a one-time process. You go in there and you do it, and then you only have to do it once, and then you can continue running these reports. So let's pull open one of these, and you can see the format that we have set up, which we can do within Excel, and then you can see the different variables that we have there: date, order number, item, quantity, unit price, total price, and that's how it's broken out right there. Okay, let's close that out. And let's see here. We can take a look at the different run modes. Alright, so here are some of the run modes that you can do with Explorer. You can just use it for Excel specifically. You can email these out automatically as attachments once they're complete. You can do a lot of the similar things that we had showed in Layout as far as doing them as in an attachment. If you want to do it as a PDF or Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, then you can do it that way. One of our modules that we use to automate this is Supervisor, which you just saw in the layout demonstration, but it works great with Explorer. So as soon as you complete one of these reports, if you wanted to automate it, say automatically have it sent out as an email to a vendor or something like that, you can do it that way. So if I were to go to one of these, I can show you how it would be done. So if I were to edit it, you can see our scenario manager here. So say we built that Excel spreadsheet there, and you wanted to automatically email it out to a vendor based on something like text in it, say based on the vendor name that's specific to, say the vendor name is, New York, for example. If you want to set it up where as soon as that one is built, you can have it attached that way, and it will automatically carry out the command that you set it to. So if you wanted to send it out as an email, as I said before, you can do that, and then as soon as that New York one is finished and completed, it will automatically email it out to that vendor that you would like to do that to, or you can schedule it based on however you want to do it. If you want to do it weekly, monthly, annually, you can do that. You can set it to specific times. When, say, you wanted to do one at 5 o'clock when maybe no one's in the office, and it's easier that way to send it out after work hours, then you can do it that way. So there is that. And then we're going to just do one more thing here. Let's just pull up a fresh file and just show you that it's it's very easy. Well, as you can see here, that we are Unicode compatible. That's something that I didn't touch on, but now that I have it here, so if you have something that is has say Chinese text in it, then you can do it that way. It's Unicode compatible. So if we were going to do a book list, we could do this one, and you wanted to break it out based on these parameters here. So say we don't need any of this information, you can just delete these cells and use a second section and then add a run format to it and do it with Excel. Then you can do it that way. So it's just a point and click, and it's very easy. And then if you didn't have say the numerical, it was the minus was on the wrong side, then you could fix it that way by doing reposition numerical symbol and then do it at the beginning of the column. So everything here is working. So it's just wanted to quickly show you that it's just very easy to do it point and click, and that will be all. I'm going to pass it off to Frank, who is our Director of Sales and Marketing. And let me just.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you, Kate, and everybody's attending. So we do have 3 or 4 questions here. I encourage you to write in any question if you'd like. We have about a little less than 10 minutes. So if I get, I'll answer as many questions as I can. So the first question we have is, can you handle very large reports and multiple locations with local printing? So one of the things that Mark was showing you was our Explorer product. The Explorer is typically used as he mentioned, to put large reports, to break them up sometimes, or to just put very, very large background reports into Excel and deliver them. And certainly we can handle multiple locations, and we can handle both a direct network connection or a distributed network architecture. We have about 3,000 customers throughout the world. Some of them are very large companies, as you saw, and many of them are working with bandwidth issues that we can mitigate. And one of the reasons we can handle multiple very large reports is we can apply multiple supervisors to a report to be able to have more than one Windows server processing documents at the same time. As a matter of fact, we could have as many as you wish. So size and speed should not be an issue for us. It hasn't been an issue for us with other companies. Next question we have is how long it takes to build a template and what do they cost? So that's a typical question that we get. Thank you very much. So most of our customers are trained on how to build templates, and they build the templates, and there's no additional cost for that other than the training, usually a day, maybe 2 days for your staff, for you to be able to build templates. After you're trained and understand how to build a template, a typical template might take anywhere from a couple of hours, and on the outside, if it's really complicated, I've seen them take a day and a half or so. And when our people are doing them, and we will do them for you, we will simply give you a bid and do that work for you. Typically, those are the kinds of times that it requires. And if you have a lot of templates you want built for us, we'd be more than happy to give you a very competitive bid on doing that. But as I said, most of our customers are being trained to do it, and then they do it themselves. So instead of having to work in ABAP or in SAP Script, you have a nice, fast, easy drag-and-drop environment to do that. So another interesting question came is on the attachment. They were asking, can attachments vary depending on who I'm sending it to or depending on what's sold? So, interesting question. In a very general sense, the answer is yes. Any element on that document can be tied to a variable. And once that element is tied to a variable, you could change that element depending on that variable. So we have a customer, for example, that drop ships for both Lowe's and Home Depot. And depending on if they're drop shipping for Lowe's, they'll use one logo, and if they're drop shipping for Home Depot, they'll use another. And we have another customer that ships hazardous waste, and they will pull in various material handling documents depending on what's actually being shipped. Something that's kind of difficult to do directly within SAP. Okay. And then finally, we have one other question. So if you have some additional questions, please type them in. One other question that came up is, this customer says they have a proprietary fax system. It's a fax system that is not a Windows fax system, and some of their documents need to go to this fax system, and they're wondering how we might support that. So we do have several different ways we could support it. One of the new features of our software is if you already have a function within SAP that sends to fax, we would be able to call that function. And that may be the simplest way to do it. Don't have specific suggestions on other ways without having more detail. We have a couple of other questions about SAP levels. So Matt, if you want to go ahead and answer this, what version of SAP and patch level requirements?
It's pretty specific, but what we can do is we can obviously send out the installation guide that has it all for you. We have it all pretty much laid out specifically what patches you need, what authority you need to even install our package. So I mean, I'm assuming we have the email address of that customer. We can just send that out to them. I don't have it right in front of me right now.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. So the general answer is there are version and patch level requirements, and would be glad to send you the specifics. But in general, yet to find an SAP installation that we couldn't work with. Sometimes we've actually had to tweak it. And when we have to tweak it, it's usually the install packet, actually. So even if your version it doesn't match ours, we might be able to work with you. But we will send that to you specifically. Next is any modification to SAP standard code with installation. And the answer to that is no. All we do is have a packet that you install. No modifications to your standard code. Hardware requirements, I'm going to answer that for you too as well, Matt. Very minimal. If you're running SAP and you have Windows servers, you're going to be able to run our software. That's the best way of answering that question. We have another question. Is there a web interface that allows users to monitor the automation tool? Interesting. We do have a web interface that can allow somebody who's remote to make sure documents are processing properly, get error messages if they're not being processed properly, stop and restart. So we do have a web interface for that, and I'd be more than happy to have one of our solutions consultants show you that. And that seems to be the answer, the end of our questions. I want to thank everybody once again for attending. I hope you all have a great day, and look forward to talking to you. If any of you would like to see a more detailed demonstration which is customized to your specific requirements, just send a note to sales and we will take care of that. Thank you.